I'm Helena Phoenix, and you're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show here on Wolf Spirit Radio. We all see what we want to see. It's true. Hello and welcome. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. I'm your host, Helena Phoenix. I'll be your host for the next 2 hours. And you're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show. And this is my maiden voyage here on Wolf Spirit Radio. And if you know who I am, you're probably familiar with me from the work I did at Revolution Radio, which is a sister station of Wolf Spirit Radio. And I was at Revolution Radio for 2 years on a show called Time to Shine. And that show will be continuing, so I'll have 2 shows here at Wolf Spirit Radio, which, by the way, thank you, JP, for allowing me to continue my shows here on Wolf Spirit Radio. I'm very, very proud to be here. Wolf Spirit Radio has an exceptional reputation. And like I said, you're a sister station to Revolution Radio, so I was very familiar with a lot of the people at Wolf Spirit Radio, a lot of the hosts as well. I really enjoyed tuning into Wolf Spirit Radio and hearing the quality of guests and of hosts. Wolf Spirit Radio really resonates with me. It's very much about, all the hosts, the guests. You have different kind of alternative media. There's all kinds of alternative media, and there's all levels of alternative media. And this is what I'm learning, you see. And I'm going to get into the confusion and how deep the rabbit hole goes a little after, okay? But there is different levels of alternative media, which is what I've learned in my journey as a host on Revolution Radio. And the different levels is you kind of get the stock standard consensus reality from mainstream media. Okay, so you get this one level of what they want you to know on mainstream, and it's congruent throughout every mainstream station. However, you don't get that on alternative media. That's what makes it very special, but also very confusing for a lot of people. But once you can start using discernment, you're going to be able to piece it together. And it's okay, because you think about it, mainstream media, it might be congruent throughout every station you listen to on mainstream media. You're going to hear the same news, which allows people in a way to kind of view the world one way and not be challenged. However, when you start entering the alternative media world, you're not going to get such an easily digestible stream of information. I'm not saying that mainstream is easily digestible, but it is one-dimensional. What you're getting in alternative media is a multi-dimensional information, which can be very, very hard to digest. Okay, so my role in alternative media, and the role that I took on at Revolution Radio on my show Time to Shine, was very solutions orientated. I mean, are you confused? I'm very, very confused about what's going on in the world. Has the world gone crazy? Yeah, it's gone wildly crazy. And I'm certainly not naive to what's going on in the world and how deep that rabbit hole does go. I am very solution orientated. I really want to deal with the micro, not the macro so much. And what I mean by that is how we fix up our own backyards, metaphorically speaking, and in our homes. Because I say this time and time again, the Illuminati, although they are real, are not your problem. They are not your direct problem. The problems that we face are in our homes, are in our own backyards, metaphorically speaking. So I am solution orientated. That's what my shows have always been about. I've done shows on tarot, on the iconography of tarot. I've done all sorts of shows. I've done shows on jealousy, emotional intelligence. I've had all sorts of guests. And I'm quite proud of the work I've done. I actually was a host at Revolution Radio by small chance. Nighthawk, which is the owner of Revolution Radio. Again, if you know Rev Radio, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's all right. You get a little bit educated on me. I've got so much to cover. This is my first show here on Wolf Spirit Radio. I've got so much to cover because I will have another show. So this is the Helena Phoenix show. My other show is going to be with my co-host Joaquim, and that'll be Time to Shine. So, but I'll get into that a little bit more later. So my shows on Rev Radio have always dealt with solution-orientated kind of information, and what I found was with colleagues of mine, a lot of colleagues in the alternative media world were covering all sorts of topics, not necessarily what I was covering. They were covering things like whistleblowers and things of a nature pertaining to UFOs, aliens, conspiracies, government cover-ups, geopolitics, all those things that are part of alternative media. What I covered was more inward orientated as opposed to what's happening out there. They all cross-reference, and it's really important to know what's happening out there, and sometimes we just don't know what we don't know also. So my job isn't to convince you of anything. If there's something that you learn from on my show, for instance, I suggest you go do your own research. But the idea is I want to talk to an audience that are feeling like I'm feeling, but you just feel like you're alone because you think you're the only one feeling it or going through it. And I've gone through that. I've gone through that feeling of feeling very alone, like I was the only one going through this awakening, this discovery about how dark and deep and dirty the world can be. Now, just a little bit of background. I do have a broadcasting background. That's how I got to Rev Radio. I think Hawk must have seen one of my videos on music videos, because I do music. I'll tell you about that later. On YouTube, and he left me a very simple message: do you want to be a host on my radio station? And this was 2 years ago. And I was like, hell yeah, what do I have to do? And he said, just get Skype and a microphone. Before I knew it, and this is how simple it was. It's not complicated. Before I knew it, Tones, I don't know if everyone's familiar with Tones, but Tones is a legendary friend of mine who just got my introduction happening very quickly and a bumper, and within a week I had a show on Rev Radio. I was so warmly welcomed to the station. It was an incredible experience, an amazing experience. My shows were live. I'm coming to you live right now relative to where I'm sitting. It's live. When this is going to be broadcast on Wolf Spirit, it'll probably be 2 days after I've actually recorded it. So today's the 20th of September 2014. I always like to date stamp my shows. I didn't do it earlier, but that's all right. Like I said, I've got so much ground to cover tonight, just introducing myself and the work I do, what it is I do. Who the heck is she? Yeah, my accent, by the way, is I'm from Melbourne, Australia. My parents are Spanish, not South American, but actually Spanish, European Spanish. And yeah, just so much growth in the 2 years I was at Revolution Radio. I learnt so much. Almost had cosmic downloads a lot. And I did make a very good point before, and I do believe it's a very good point, that if you're just a mainstream media kind of person, you're just fed one story, one narrative from station to station, and it's probably easier. When you start delving into these worlds that we do in alternative media, it becomes harder. It becomes very confusing. It's just too much to digest, too much to try to understand. And you got the fundamentalists on one hand, you got the conservative Christians on the other hand, you got the esoteric people on the other hand, you got how many hands have I got here? I've only got 2 hands. All right, but you've got the what we would consider sheeple on the other hand, who don't care either way, who are completely atheist and don't really have any opinion about anything. So you've got all these angles about where everyone's coming from. The conservative Christians don't like the esoteric worldview and paradigm, and vice versa. The esoteric paradigm worldview does not agree with a conservative Christian. So where do we find our way through this? Now, I hope I haven't skipped anything. Like I said, I don't like to digress, but I will be covering kind of a lot of ground tonight, so you get a feel about what I'm about, what my shows are going to be about. And this is kind of an intro. Again, I'll have another intro with Joaquim. We'll be doing a show in a couple of days. So again, 2 shows here on Wolf Spirit Radio, 1 solo. I will be having guests. And with my show with Joaquim, which will be Time to Shine with Joaquim, we'll also be having guests. It'll just be obviously a very different dynamic. He's from New York. I don't want to give too much away. You'll hear that show. It'll be really good. It's a lot of great information to come, and hopefully we're entertaining as well while you're learning. And also feeling like there's people out there, or at least myself, who, if you resonate with me, it's like, yeah, well, there's more of us. You don't have to feel alone. This is what I was saying before. I've gone through that. When I got into broadcasting, when I was studying broadcasting, I was studying at what we call, everyone calls them a university or a college or whatever you call them. And I didn't even know about alternative media. This is going about 7 years ago, and I didn't know about internet radio or anything like that. I had no idea. But what I wanted to do at the college, at the uni, when I was studying broadcasting, I would get on and start doing some production. The speakers would be playing throughout the whole university. You play some music, and I started talking about things of a conspiratorial nature, and people weren't really responding to it very well at all. They didn't know what I was talking about, and in other words, I was delving into the alternative form of giving out information, but it wasn't welcomed. And in those times, I felt like, well, am I going to sell out and go with the mainstream and do it their way, or am I going to stay true and feel like I'm alone and do it my way? The payoff was that I'm going to feel very alone if I do it my way. I ended up doing my way, and guess what happened? I ended up, by mere coincidence or synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, I ended up hooking up with the right people. I ended up being an actual host on the world stage at a radio station by being true to myself, by not caving in and not selling out and not doubting myself. So there's a strong message right there. If you feel alone, if you've got a way about you and you feel alone, or believe me, you stay true to yourself. You stay true to your sovereign self, and you keep powering on. And believe me when I say synchronicities will happen. I can't tell you where, how, why, on what date. You just have to have faith and believe in yourself, and just keep doing your thing, keep doing your daily thing, keep doing what you got to do, go to work, pay bills, whatever it is. But that other side, that it's you marching to the beat of your heart, keep doing it. You don't have to cave into the mainstream, because it's a big world. It's a very big world. It's a small world, but it's a very big world too. So just have that faith, because it happened to me. I went from feeling very alone to being on the world stage with a voice as well. So, and, you know, if someone had told me I'd be doing the work I'm doing now 6 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy. But it happens. It happens. But you got to believe in yourself otherwise. Oh, you know, I saw a really good saying today. It said something along the lines of, I actually reposted it on Facebook. Something along those lines. You can't do, I'll go look for it. It's definitely worth, saying out loud right now, this moment in time. So Wolf Spirit Radio, huh? What a great name. So we're not vampires here. We have wolf spirits, not vampiric spirits. So, and JP, what a man. My encounters with JP have been so positive and so easy as well. So, I've got a really good feeling about it being here at Wolf Spirit. A very, very good feeling about it. So, and I'm rolling with it. I'm happy to be here. So this is the saying I was looking for. It says, you can't do epic shit with basic people. And that's what I'm all about. All right. So be bigger, think bigger. I'm definitely not a Christian or a conservative Christian or anything like that. I do think Christ was awesome. There's just so much debate around the whole thing with Christians and people that are more on an esoteric path, and I definitely would like to do a show about that, because are you confused? Are you as confused as I am? Like, a conservative Christian can almost make you feel very guilty for believing that you can fulfill your potential, that you have a potential that we can tap into. You see, you say that to a conservative Christian and they take that as a blasphemy, as a big insult. Yet you talk about Christianity to someone who's more of a esoteric paradigm, belief system, we kind of see Christians as ignorant. So I try not to even go there, because if I'm going to spend my time arguing or spend my time trying to convince people of what I know, I am wasting time when I could be doing other things, for instance, tapping into my full potential. But I can tell you this, without Gaia, without God, without Creator, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to tap into my full potential. So let me just put that out there. So tonight's show, which, by the way, my time right now is 9:30 p.m. Melbourne time. Tonight's show, I thought I wanted to talk about the divine feminine, divine masculine. Now, if you listen in these circles, usually you probably hear a lot about the divine masculine, the divine feminine. Now, if you know me, you probably know 5 months ago I had a baby. I had a little baby girl, and she's the most precious, amazing human being I've ever come in contact with. And during my pregnancy, I obviously became hypersensitive to pregnancy and symbols of pregnancy or anything to do with pregnancy. And unfortunately, I didn't see much. I didn't see statues erected of pregnant women. I didn't see pregnant women elevated in our society or celebrated. And that saddened me so much. Now, you don't really notice those things until you're pregnant. Or most people don't notice those things even when they are pregnant. I'm not one of those women. You see, that's why I'm here doing the job that I'm doing. Now, it saddened me to see that the divine of the pregnant, the divinity of a pregnant woman is not celebrated in society. It's nowhere to be seen. So me being me, would find whatever pictures I could, statues that I could, whatever I could, and I was of the pregnant goddess, and I would post it up and talk about it, and it turns out when I'd speak to women about it, they'd be like, light bulb moment. Oh my gosh, that's so true. We don't celebrate it. Well, I'm going to celebrate it. So how about that? So, I don't really think that the divine feminine is celebrated in our Western culture. What is celebrated, though, is, I think, the dark side of the feminine, which is over-sexualization of the feminine, a very, almost also a very masculine attitude to life, an attitude of conquer, stepping on heads to get in position, having a very, what words could I use to describe the behaviour of women that aren't operating from their divine feminine. They're acting more masculine, basically. And there is the element of the divine masculine and the lower vibrational element of the masculine as well. But I won't talk about that today. I'll contrast that on another show. Tonight I want to talk about the divine feminine. And I'm just going to put this in as well. I do not label myself with any title. I'm not a non-feminist. I'm not a feminist. I don't have a title of any kind. Okay? I love my fellow human beings as long as they're not a-holes. That's pretty much my MO. I don't care who you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what religion you are. As long as you're not an a-hole. It's pretty simple. So I don't title myself as a feminist, non-feminist or anything. I'm all about fairness. I'm a Libran as well, so fairness is very important to me. And I don't really think it's fair that we live in a society, a culture, a paradigm where, a narrative where women are overly sexualized and images of women seem to be very overly sexualized. The message that we give to our daughters, which I have one, and our sons is not, it's not going to be going in a good direction. So I want to talk about the divine feminine. How do we tap into our divine feminine? What's the value of operating in your divine feminine? So I've got some articles I'm going to paraphrase and get into. But just a little FYI about young women these days. And when I say these days, I'm talking about the past 15, 20 years. Right now, the volume's been turned up because I think young women are being very tricked. This is all part of social engineering, I believe, where and it's a very deep rabbit hole, but I'm going to try to simplify it. Women and men we're different. We just are different. We're socially engineered differently as well, which doesn't help. So we're biologically different. Some people would argue that we're exactly the same. We're just socially engineered different. So, I'm also one of these people that can see many, many angles, but I have to choose one angle, otherwise my mind's too open. I'm going all different directions. So I'm going to go with the angle of the femininity, being feminine, being a woman, what it is to be a woman, although there are always exceptions to the rule, okay? So just keep that in mind. And I do have the ability I can even see things through the eyes of I'm an empath, so I can have the ability to see through the eyes of a conservative Christian even. That's my ability. I can see from many different angles, but I do have to choose one. So, young women, like I was saying earlier, I'd say, I probably started the 60s, obviously, the whole feminist movement. Women seem to be quite confused, and young girls especially, and it probably happened to me as well, but thinking that their sexuality is in fact their power. And I can tell you it's not. And sexuality is one thing. I'm talking about indiscriminately sharing out your sexuality. For instance, young girls, women going to a nightclub, and they are promiscuous, but at the same time that they're being promiscuous, they really would like to find someone that loves them. So you can't have both. You can't be out being promiscuous and sleeping around and having one-night stands. First guy you meet, you sleep with. And I've seen this time and time again. She'll sleep with him, and then she'll be crying the next 3 days after that because he's not contacting her. And girls are very confused about this. So hold on. I'm being taught through music, through these women at the top in film and in music, i.e. people like Beyonce and the Goo Goo woman, Gaga, and many of those women, I don't even have to say their names because I'm pretty certain you know who they are, teaching this paradigm, this belief to young women that their power is in their indiscriminately giving out their sexuality. We know in reality that that's not true. It's like these young girls become like lemmings. They're being engineered a certain way when they're confusing reality and fantasy, because what these women at the top in music and film, they're selling you a fantasy. It's not real. You try to live that and you're kamikazing yourself, basically. But these young women are learning this the hard way. We are not taught the divine feminine. This illusion of divine feminine of these women that look amazing and are kind of like a mix between being photoshopped and fashion and soft porn. I mean, this is what's the norm now. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they act amazing. Yes, they act like they've got power. Okay, but these women are placed there. Okay, they're there's a word for it. They're trained for those roles. They don't just come out of nowhere. They're trained for those roles. And, you know, when you're a young woman, you're looking for role models. And these women are there. So young women want to emulate these women that are in positions of power, that are beautiful, that seem so free in their acting and their singing and all that. It's not real, okay? It really isn't. These women they struggle a lot in their real lives. There's another element of that, which is mind control, but I won't get into that today. Let's just stick with what the divine feminine is. So it certainly isn't looking up to these women. The women I've looked up to are not in my timeline. They're not in this life. I've looked up to women like Joan of Arc and Mother Teresa even. There's so many women not of this time that have been my role models. They're certainly not women of this time. And, you know, I've been socially engineered too, so the way I look, the way I dress, you know, I wear makeup, I like nice clothes and nice shoes and all that, but it doesn't define who I am. And it's another thing that I think is a little bit sad. It's like you can only be, how can I put it? You can only be true and real if you're wearing your hair up in a bun and you're not wearing makeup and you don't care about how you look. I mean, you think about the amount of judgment we give to how we should be how we should look. It shouldn't matter. You look and wear and do whatever you want. What matters is your heart and your soul, and what comes out. That's what matters. Whether you dress nice or not dress nice, that's fundamentally all that's important. What's worrying is, you know, young women thinking that, you know, beauty or looking a certain way is all that matters. I've certainly gone through that stage. I went through my 20s being completely obsessed with my looks and feeling like that's all I had and that's all I could rely on. I was deeply socially engineered, and it hurt my soul. Now, I've woken up from that. I still take care of myself, but I'm not obsessed like I used to be. It was such a waste of energy and waste of time. But it happens. So, wow. You know, what are we teaching our girls? We're putting them in front of mainstream media. And there's a great saying by Marilyn Manson, of all people. He said, bring up your children or I'll do it for you. And he was speaking for the media. You do a good job or we'll do it for you, meaning mainstream media. So you get my point there. You get where that's going. It's like it's a parent's job to, embed morals in their children, to teach their children, to guide their children. Unfortunately, a lot of parents don't have a clue either. So I'm lucky to say I have got a clue. My husband's got a clue. And we've got a really, really big clue as to what's going on, and that helps. So it helps when you're bringing up a child. So, and especially now that I have a daughter, I take her developmental years of 0 to 7 years old very, very seriously. That's my job. That's our job as parents. Not the media's job, not the job to put them in front of the television, and then by the time they're 15, you weren't wondering why they're on drugs and they're hanging out with the wrong people. You see? So, let's just get that straight. Just parent correctly. But, okay. So, yeah, I take this stuff, I took it very seriously before I even had a baby girl. So now I'm taking this stuff exceptionally seriously because, there's no more important job in the world than being a good parent. That to me is the most important job in the world. A lot of people don't even. I see my daughter, and it's a miracle. She's a miracle. All children are miracles. I don't understand why people that are having children are taking the whole experience so much for granted. Just put their kids in front of TV and feed them crap, and I don't get it. But it doesn't matter. It's not my business as long as they stay out of my way. But the point is, what is the divine feminine, and tapping into the divine feminine and kind of trying to steer away from girls and women these days that feel that they need to behave like men to get anywhere. Or they need to be very overly sexual, which is, again, not the divine feminine. Just because you're painting your face and you got hair extensions and you got a fake tan, okay, does not mean you're feminine. Femininity is not a superficial term. Feminine is when you operate from compassion, from empathy, from nurture, not as a doormat, okay? This is about still standing in your truth and still marching to the beat of your heart, but being true to you. Now, this is very hard to do. I'm talking to people that are very heavily programmed at the moment. They're either going to be scratching their heads going, she's making sense, but don't know why. Or you've been through it and it's like, yep, this is making a lot of sense. Or someone's listening and it's like, well, that they're so programmed that it sounds like I'm talking French. So either way, I don't know who's listening, and I don't know how you're going to take what I'm saying, okay? But the divine feminine is really about operating from your heart center, where you don't need to act like a man, and you don't need to be overly sexual to. If you think being overly sexual is going to get you anywhere, you need to get a clue, because people will use you. These young women are getting used for sex, basically. They're getting used, and it's very soul destroying. I've seen it time and time again. They give themselves away. They feel like it's very empowering, and they end up with really no male wanting anything serious with them. And they want a good time with them, but they wouldn't want anything serious with them. Now, I'd be okay with a girl, a young woman, understanding that and saying, okay, well, I know no one's going to take me seriously, and I'm happy to go out and use my sexuality the way I do it. But you can't have both, you see. In Spanish, we say no te puede quejar, and that means you can't complain. That's it. You cannot have both. Just choose one. You can do the other one, that's fine. But you can't have both. You can't expect that someone's going to respect you, really, take you seriously, All right, so divine feminine. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Now, before we go into it, this 2-hour show is going to be a little break at the top of the hour. We're still trying to ascertain what days and times and time zones and everything that the 2 shows that I'm hosting are going to be on. So we'll get around that soon. I've been off the radio for about a month now, so it hasn't been very long. And I came back pretty quickly. So, alright, so let's talk about a little bit more about the divine feminine. Also, I want to say, usually when you listen to my shows, have a pen and paper, because there'll be one tidbit of information that you might want to just jot down or something like that. So, here's a tidbit of information. If you want to contact me, you can call me. Not call me, sorry. Well, you can Skype me. I'll give you that information in a moment. But if you want to contact me, if you've got a question, if you've got an idea for a show even, why don't you do a show on this? If it's within my value system, or if you just want to reach out for any reason, as long as it's for legit reasons, not weirdo reasons, you can contact me on Time to Shine Radio, or lowercase time to shine radio @gmail.com. TIMETOSHINE radio. Time to Shine Radio @gmail.com. Feel free to email me, and I'll be sure to answer your email if I see that it's legit. And also, I'm on Skype, so when I have guests on my show, I will be using Skype as a means, because my guests are going to be all over the world. So Skype is a great way to, a great format for me to be able to interview guests. So I'll be using Skype. I don't really think I need to give out my Skype contact just yet. If you want to be a guest, if you think you want to be on my show, email me and we can hook up if you're legit. Hopefully you'll be legit, won't you? You'll definitely be legit. But if you're, if you've got something very important that you feel like you want to say, you've written a book, you're writing a book, contact me and you can get on my show and we can talk, shoot the breeze, talk about whatever you want to talk about. All right, so let's get into Time to Shine Radio @gmail.com. All right, so I've got here. All right, so I'm just gonna roll off a few quotes and I'm gonna paraphrase and and I just want to say too, we need men. Okay, so before you go judging me, is she a feminist or is she not a feminist? Does she like men? Does she hate men? Of course I love men, and we need them too. They need us. We need them. They don't need us when we're operating in really low vibrational rubbish, crazy women acting like idiots, and we don't need men when they're acting like total a-holes. All right, so we need to get some balance back, tap into the divine masculine, divine feminine. All right, so I'll explain that a little bit after. All right, so reclaiming the feminine mystery of creation, the matrix of creation. The feminine is the matrix of creation. This truth is something profound and elemental, and every woman knows it in the cells of her body, in her instinctual depths. All right. Well, all women should know this. Sometimes we're stripped of this because of social engineering, but all women should know this and feel this. When women behave off fear and insecurity and jealousy, that's when it's all over Red Rover. That's when you start behaving like a crazy woman in your lower vibrational state. And that's what we do not want. Okay? And I tell you another thing. A girl that's out sleeping around, she's not doing it because she really enjoys it. 9 times out of 10, that's not the reason. She's looking for validation. She's insecure and she's looking for validation and love in all the wrong places. Okay? So, out of the substance of her very being, life comes forth. She can conceive and give birth, participate in the greatest mystery of bringing a soul into life. And yet we have forgotten or been denied the depths of this mystery of how the divine light of the soul creates a body in the womb of a woman, and how the mother shares in this wonder, giving her own blood, her own body, to what will be born. Our culture's focus on the disembodied, transcendent God has left women bereft, denying them the sacredness of the simple mystery of divine love. What we do not realize is that this patriarchal denial affects not only every woman, but also life itself. When we deny the divine mystery of the feminine, we also deny something fundamental to life. We separate life from its sacred core, from a matrix that nourishes all of creation. We cut our world off and the source that alone can heal, nourish and transform it. The same sacred source that gave birth to each of us is then needed to give meaning to our life, to nourish it with what is real, and to reveal to us the mystery, the divine purpose of being alive. Because humanity has a central function in the whole of creation, what we deny to ourselves, we deny to all of life. In denying the feminine her sacred power and purpose, we have impoverished life in ways we do not understand. We have denied life its sacred source of meaning and divine purpose, which was understood by the ancient priestesses. We think that their fertility rites and other ceremonies belonged only to the need of procreation or a successful harvest. In our contemporary culture, we cannot understand how a deeper mystery was enacted, one that consciously connected life to its source in the inner worlds, a source that held the wholeness of life as an embodiment of the divine, allowing the wonder of the divine to present in every moment. The days of the priestesses, their temples and ceremonies are over, and because the wisdom of the feminine was not written down, but transmitted orally, this sacred knowledge is lost. We cannot reclaim the past, but we can witness a world without her presence, a world which we exploit for greed and power, which we rape and pollute without real concern. And then we can begin the work of welcoming her back, of reconnecting with the divine that is, at the core of creation, and learning once again how to work with the sacred principles of life. Without this intersection of the divine feminine, we will remain in this physical and spiritual wasteland. I love that word, wasteland. Spiritual wasteland we have created, passing on to our children as a diseased and desecrated world. Now, to me, reading that out just gave me really nice chills down my spine and made my hair raise up, because we're not valuing what's really important, and then we're wondering while we're looking around and ending up with so many social problems like we do. I mean, I heard a story the other day of a young girl, a 16-year-old, who conspired to kill her parents and her two little brothers. This is in Texas. It happened in 2008, and she went through with it, and she got people to do it. And she was 16 years old. I mean, this crazy stuff that's going on in the world. And why? I think it's because we're so disconnected from something so profound. Most don't even know what it is. I do believe, I feel like I know what it is. It's just a deeper connection to all things. Sadly, with women, it's another thing about women that is very in the masculine, and the lower vibrational aspect of the feminine is when they're very competitive with one another and almost frightened of one another, when we really should be working together. Because when you've got a happy, secure woman, you've got happy men. Because men need us to be strong and beautiful in divine ways, not in the low vibrational, angry, yucky, insecure ways. Okay? So, we've still got so much to learn. And look, this, like I just read out, it's been forgotten. Some of us have to bring it back. Maybe I will bring it back. Maybe I'll be assisting in bringing it back. Sadly, the way women are socially engineered is, it's not conducive to anything. Okay, you know what it's conducive to? It's conducive to bringing money to a household. But there's more important things than bringing money to a household. Like if you're a mother, you put your children in childcare, you go out because you've got to earn a living to bring money home, and because you usually need 2 incomes these days to afford a home, to live relatively comfortably, you need 2 incomes. So life's not facilitated around being home, being a parent. It's almost like women are forced to have to behave in the masculine just to survive. That's not true. It's an illusion. I found other ways. I figured out other ways. I run a home business. I figured out a way how I can be home, be with my child, be home with my child, and be a mother, and still be working, but doing it in a way where I don't have to be out being competitive and stepping on heads to get anywhere. I run a home business and I do my work on the radio. I found a whole bunch of other ways that I thought of that weren't handed to me. I thought of them. I had to figure out a way around being a parent and not having to be out working and not seeing my child grow up because they're being looked after by other people. Anyway, so I've got to be careful because I don't want to sound like I'm against women going out and achieving goals, because I'm all goal orientated. Everything I do is about goals and achieving goals and tapping into my potential. But I don't do it in a way where it's in a masculine way where a lot of women feel they do have to do it. It's a trick. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to be pushing people around. You don't have to be a control freak. You don't have to be any of those things. There's ways around them. So we're going to be coming to a break very shortly. So another 7 minutes ago or so, and I'm going to continue. But I wanted to mention at the beginning of the show, I'm sorry to digress just very quickly, but Wolf Spirit Radio is also listener supported. And Wolf Spirit Radio's got a great website as well, and it's kind of being revamped and built up because JP has taken over, and I'm new here, so I've got to feel myself around a little. But we're listener supported, so we stay on air by donations. So if you feel like you feel inclined to throw a donation to Wolf Spirit Radio, it'll certainly keep me here on air. You can do that. Go to wolfspiritradio.com and you can get it on your iPad. I mean, if you put it, I've got it on my iPad, and all I do is, save it on my screen. So I just obviously tap on it. It takes me straight to Wolf Spirit Radio. But I wanted to mention that because I can't even remember if I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but it doesn't matter. I've got to get used to the new waves of this radio station, which is already feeling very welcome and very comfortable at Wolf Spirit. So, and they've got a chat room as well. So I will keep you posted on any little changes here at Wolf Spirit. And there's so many on the website. There's all the hosts. They've got archives as well of shows, etc., etc. And I know JP works super duper hard here as well, doing what he does, juggling, and he does it with such a grace and sense of humour. I'm really going to enjoy getting to know JP more because so far the man makes me laugh, and I dig that. So, got a couple of minutes left. I'll continue with my solo. I don't like to say the word rant. Ranting sounds like Alex Jones, and I don't rant like Alex Jones. And, it's funny, it's challenging when you listen to someone in alternative media. Again, because usually if you're listening to alternative media, you've got an open mind. Therefore, things can go in many, many different directions. Like I used the example of the conservative Christian before compared to someone who's of more of an esoteric nature. And in these worlds, in the information we're trafficking in here, we leave ourselves very open to all sorts of criticism. Because we're only one piece of the puzzle. I'm not every piece of the puzzle. And no one you ever hear is the only piece of the puzzle. So you got to try to withhold judgment when you listen. And I had to learn this. When I listen to other people speak, other hosts. I can say, okay, that's not in my belief system, but I'm still learning something here. Again, you can't have your mind too open that you just adopt everything that everyone says, but I also believe you can't have your mind so closed that you don't allow cross-referencing information to come up with a conclusion that's true for you, because the fact is something's true for everyone in a different way. That's why this one world religion thing, I really am very curious how that's going to come about, because getting everybody to think and feel a certain way all exactly at the same time, unless we're forced. Now, if we're forced to have a one world religion, that might be a different story. But I don't think it's going to be a free will thing, or maybe there'll be some event, huge event that'll become a free will thing. I do not know. There are so many timelines that could come to pass, but we don't know. Choose your own timeline. Ask for what you want. Choose your own timeline. I get into all sorts of things on my show. Quantum jumping, visualization. I'm more of an esoteric nature, in case you hadn't noticed. A conservative Christian might not like me, but I'll still like them. I've got no problem with that at all. They might have a problem with me. It's another thing. It's like live and let live. As long as you're not hurting anyone, definitely I'm not about hurting anyone. I am kind of an eye for an eye kind of person. If someone tried to reach for my eye, I'd probably try to reach for their eye and more, but I'd never do it offensively. It's only defensive. See, you're getting to know me already. So there you go. I'm gonna continue with this. You might think this, that, or the other. Where's she coming from? Where I'm coming from is remembering who you are, remembering you got to be careful with the word divine. Don't want to insult people. I don't think I'm a God. I think I'm part of God. I think I'm holographically part of God. I also get into holographic universe kind of material too. In another show, we can go there. But when I say divine, when I say the word divine, I'm talking about something bigger than this smallness that we live in, this small-mindedness, this small-heartedness, this smallness that we live in. When I say divine, I use that word in terms of you're bigger than that. We're bigger than that. Again, I won't say the whole we're God's stuff. It's too controversial. It is semantics. I'm a creator in a way. I created a child. I brought a child into the world. I gave life to a child. My husband's also a creator. He did it too. In a way, we are creators. On what level, competitive-wise, are we gods and creators? It doesn't matter. We're all here. We're all here together. But anyway, we're coming to a break. And I'll be back. You're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show here on Wolf Spirit Radio. Back in just a couple of minutes.
All around
Hello and welcome back. You're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show. I'm your host, Helena Phoenix, here at Wolf Spirit Radio. And Wolf Spirit Radio is listener supported, like many, many good radio stations around the world, listener supported. And we rely on donations to keep going. So we really are the people's voice. And if you'd like to make a donation to Wolf Spirit Radio, you can go to wolfspiritradio.com. And there's a chat room there, and there's archives of previous shows. So many hosts. Probably on my next show, I'm going to start running through names of hosts and look at the guests that they've had. The quality of guests that they have had here at Wolf Spirit Radio is exceptional. So I'm very happy to be here, and I've got to say a big thank you to JP as well for allowing me to continue my work here at Wolf Spirit. So I can't wait to get to know everybody, and although I do know some people, because it becomes very much 6 degrees of separation when you're in the alternative radio world. You get to know people even if they're not at your syndicate. So, anyway, Wolf Spirit Radio, and thanks for tuning in. So, I did mention you're listening to Helena Phoenix. This isn't the Time to Shine show, but it kind of is, sort of, because it's just what I do. But my show, Time to Shine, is going to be continuing with my new co-host, Joaquim, which, if you've heard any of his work, he's also on the beat, on the alternative media beat, and he's a friend of mine from New York. Very, very wise, very, relatively young too, and he knows his shit. He knows his stuff. He's well versed in a lot of aspects of life, and he's just littered with information. He's got heaps of information. So we're gonna have different types of guests than I would have on this show. And there's a really great intro actually to that show. It's on YouTube if you want to go check it out. It's, let's see. The Helena Phoenix Show. No, this is the Helena Phoenix Show. Time to Shine intro with Helena Phoenix and Joaquim. If you just put that in on YouTube, you'll hear the intro. But it's okay, you'll hear the intro next time when you hear our show. So the intro you heard playing to this show, that's a backing track from a friend of mine, Vosto, who's also on the alternative media beat. It's his music that he gave to me a couple of years ago. He said, do something with this. And so the vocals, the lyrics are mine. So that's the intro. Now, what you just heard in the little break there, that's a song I wrote called The Revolution. I wrote that about 4 years ago, actually. Yeah, I wrote that 4 years ago. Unless you didn't know, I am actually a singer-songwriter, and most of the work of what I do and sing about and write about is very much of a higher vibrational, social, conscious kind of thing in my lyrics. I like to keep what I'm saying, in the vein of being social conscious. If that makes sense. So hopefully you could understand the words of The Revolution, the song that just played during that break. So, gosh, what else do I have to mention? Oh, yes, and I'm a guitarist as well, and I'm a guitar teacher. So I've been doing music for some time, and I always wanted to use music to naively, share a message, basically. But I've always been someone who's really wanted to march to the beat of my own heart, and that's what I do. And I suggest you do the same thing. And it's probably going to be really different to what I do, but as long as you're marching to the beat of your heart, I'm marching to the beat of my heart, and I'm left to do it at my own discretion without any interference from anybody. Because that's what being free is, kind of, in a way, as much of that we can be free and the times we're living in. And I express my creativity and the work I do through my perspective, through my relative subjective experience in life. That's what I do, and that's how I do it without permission from anyone. And you certainly don't need my permission for you to do it too. So I'm all about tapping into potential. I'm all about growth. I'm all about, in a year being better than I am now. It's all about going up. Sometimes you go a few steps backwards, and that's fine, but you got to keep improving. I really believe that. I don't like being stagnant. I don't like just existing. I need to live. This is where, if I was talking to a conservative Christian and, I do believe in wanting to find the mysteries of life. Why are we here? What's my purpose? Why was I brought here? What's my purpose here? And I've been asking these profound questions since I was a child, and I found there were three options. There's three options. You can get deeply involved in religion and give up your power to something that you've just been told is there. So you've got three options. That's one. And then there's other branches that you can go off that. You can choose the religion you want. But you do that. Or you can just be very closed-minded and just be a sheep and do what everyone else is doing. Or you're going to open your mind, open your heart, and you're going to want to look for answers. And I'm of the latter. I wanted answers. And I'm very much of the mind where I wanted to turn over rocks. I needed to see what were under the rocks, metaphorically speaking. I needed to learn. I don't want to be stagnant. And some people really resonate with that about me, and some people are very judgmental about that about me. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to see me and you through different eyes. So not everyone's going to love you at the same time. Not everyone's going to hate you at the same time. Sometimes they probably will. If you're a crazy axe murderer, maybe everyone will hate you. But you see what I'm saying with that I can't obviously please everybody, and I don't even pretend to try to. So, where were we? All right. So that was the song I wrote 4 years ago, The Revolution. That was the one that was at the break. And, the intro was a song, the lyrics I wrote with, my friend Buster, who gave me the music for that. So, I'm probably going to be playing some of my music and throwing it in here and there, maybe sound bites. I wrote an acoustic song for my daughter about 2 months ago. That's on YouTube. I'll probably throw that in one of my shows one time. That's another idea of... You're going to see... Look, the Helena Phoenix show is... It's a mixed bag of all different kinds of interesting things. I'll be sharing my art with you, and I'm hoping, like I said earlier, that it'll be entertaining and fun and informative and deep as well. So that's what I do, and I'm fairly transparent. I don't give everything away, but I'm fairly transparent, so you'll get to know me. Again, if you want to contact me because you'd like to be a guest on my show, you've written a book, you've got some great information you'd like to share, you can contact me at timetosshine@gmail.com. That's all lowercase, and that's all in letters, no numbers, just Time to Shine Radio. So did I say radio? Time to Shine Radio @gmail.com. So you can contact me that way. And I will certainly be having guests coming on. I've got quite a few people in mind that I'd like to have on with me. And again, on Time to Shine with Joaquin, we'll have guests on there as well. And really, the idea of Time to Shine is, you got someone in Melbourne, Australia, you got someone in New York, and we're putting our heads together and trying to come up with stuff because we're in Australia and we've got a lot of social problems. We've got problems like you do in the US and in the UK and everywhere else, but they're kind of got their own slight unique spin on them culturally. We have slight cultural differences depending on where you are in the world, but bottom line is we've got massive social problems that need to be addressed. So again, I'm Helena and I'm very solutions orientated. Let's concentrate on the macro and see what we can fix and concentrate on what you can fix instead of screaming out loud about what the Illuminati are doing, which is fine. it has its place. It definitely has its place, absolutely. But like I said earlier, I'm only one piece of the puzzle, and so is everybody else in the alternative media world. We are not one piece of the puzzle. See, that's what mainstream tries to convince everybody, that they are that one and only piece. And they've been playing that con for a very, very long time. In the alternative media world, we are one small piece. You can join them together, you can join it together and do it that way. You know, the gall, the audacity of mainstream media doing that to us for so many years. They insisted they were showing us the whole piece, the whole truth, the whole picture. You think about that. So that's why I try to not be too hard on alternative media. Be soft on alternative media in that respect. You got to understand that, yes, it's so many little pieces of such a big motif. And that's what we're dealing with. So that might clear up your confusion a little bit about what's happening in alternative media. That's the case. That's what's happening. I was so used to the mainstream from all children just telling us that one thing, and that one thing was it. And we've slowly come to realise that that's not the case at all. Hence all this craziness in the alternative world, media world. So, understanding that has made things a lot easier for me. It makes Alex Jones, it's funny, I'm only saying Alex Jones's names, but I don't want to mention anyone else's names, because everyone else I know, I haven't met Alex Jones, but a lot of people in the alternative media world, I know them. Not all of them, but I know many. So I don't want to mention names, but we're all got our guns pointing in the same direction, but from different angles. So, alright, so that's where we're going. So I was talking about divine feminine, was I not? So, what I was saying earlier, how, we've forgotten, culture, society's forgotten to honour both, actually, to honour the masculine and the feminine when they're working well together, and they're working where it's of value to one another, instead of, like, I would describe a woman operating on a very low vibration, and you see this throughout society. You'll see it all the time. Go to the shop, go to the store, I would say very overweight, very unhealthy looking. You see them, they're not looking after themselves, right? So I'm going to roll off a few things and they're not, I could say they're not judgmental things. They're just, I'm contrasting because it is what it is, right? So, say a woman who's very overweight clearly doesn't look after herself, okay? That to me is, again, operating lower vibration, alright? The goal is to operate at a higher vibration. So, being very unhealthy, that's definitely not operating in your divine feminine. Being very insecure and controlling in behaviour, yelling to get a point across, being very controlling. I'm sure every single one of us have met women like that in our lives, alright? They've been a boss, a girlfriend, hopefully an ex-girlfriend, a mother, a sister, pushy, bossy, unhealthy, insecure, and afraid. There you go. There's a list of operating in your lower vibrational, feminine, I can't even think of a full stop after that, but you see the contrast. The opposite of that would be, and another few little examples of operating in the lower vibration of the feminine. Like I was mentioning earlier, giving away your sexuality non-discriminately. That's definitely another one. And it's funny because I just mentioned, like, a woman that doesn't look after herself, someone who's extremely overweight, pushy, nasty, angry, talks to people very disrespectfully and very nastily, right? So you got that. And then you got the other side where it's could be a woman who's very, very attractive, but is very extremely manipulative, and lies to get what she wants. So there's different elements of operating in the lower vibration. And believe me, the common denominator in all that is insecurity and really not having strong self-efficacy, which is where I'm coming from, is having a really good sense of self-efficacy, and a strong heart. And I mean that not because you're going to have a heart attack. I mean, your heart can crack many times, but it will not break. A lot of people walking around very, very victimized and heartbroken, which victim mentality and victim consciousness is definitely another show we're going to do. A couple of people actually helped me snap out of my programming, my victim programming. And I will talk about that. And everything's tied in. Everything's very much connected. But they're very good examples of the females operating on the lower feminine vibration, all right, where you see everywhere, almost everywhere in society. You got to ask, well, why is that? You might want to do some more research. Well, why is that? Why are we being socially engineered that way? I think it's to divide and conquer, to break up the family, all this other stuff, but we won't get into that. We'll just keep this flowing. Okay, so the contrast of that, and what is it? Operating on a higher vibration as a woman, to me, would be things like looking after yourself, having a good diet, eating a good diet, looking after people around you, keeping people lifted, elevated. Now, you can only do that for other people if you're doing it for yourself, okay? So whatever I say you should be doing for other people is exactly what you should be doing for yourself. You should always put yourself first. Always. Because, you run the risk of being a doormat if you're always doing things, running around for other people. There's another saying, I'm tired of crossing oceans for people that wouldn't even cross a puddle for me. So use discernment, unless, of course, you're happy to do things for others without any kind of expectation whatsoever. I am going to be very honest. I'm not one of those people. I can sometimes, and I certainly have done things for people where I will consciously say I have zero expectation. I'm going to do this without any expectation whatsoever. I certainly have done that. But then there's other times where I've unconsciously done something and actually did expect some sort of validation in return. So I've done both. I'm working on that because I want to make sure if I do it, I do things without expectation. But I'm not perfect, but I've got a fair idea of what's going on. Okay. So, alright, so running the risk of you do not want to be a doormat, but you do not want to be a selfish cow either, where it's all about you and you manipulate to get your way, and you get your way at the end of the day because you've just inadvertently or overtly stepped on people's heads to get what you want. Alright, so you don't want that. One, it comes at a price. You might be getting that satisfaction, instant gratification, but everything that we do that harms other people, consciously or otherwise, does come at a price. I'm of the vein where I'd rather be working. I'm a team player. I like to work with people that I love and care about. That's another thing I've chosen as marching to the beat of my heart, my drum. That's what I've chose in terms of my life. I like to work with people I admire and I respect and I love and I like. Otherwise, I don't have to work with them. I don't have to associate with them. That's the position I've put myself in, where I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to pretend I like what I don't like because I have to earn money or I'm trying to save a reputation or a position. I don't have to do that anymore. I can really be real as much as you can in 3D, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So, So there you go. There's another way of operating more in your divine feminine, where you're true to you. You're true to yourself. You don't have to be messy. Now, this is a lot of unprogramming that people or women would need to do. We are so heavily programmed. We so are. We really truly are. We're socially engineered from a very young age to behave and to be triggered in certain ways. But it's not your destiny. You're not destined to that. If you know a little bit about the brain isn't hardwired for any of that. The brain is not hardwired for emotional responses. You only practice those and make those neurological pathways stronger. But just like if you don't work out a muscle, that muscle will atrophy. Just like this, if you're not thinking a certain way anymore, that'll atrophy and it'll just die off. It's soft-wired. It's not hardwired like riding a bike. So that's the good news. If being in your personal power would be, okay, well, alright, so just say you're very insecure, fearful person. You feel like you have to control situations because you're insecure, okay? You can really delve deep, go maybe even get some counselling as to why, because a lot of the times when you're operating on that level, life just doesn't turn out the way you want it to. Things just will not be going your way. Hence the reason why you feel the need to have to control everything. It's kind of this paradoxical spiral. It just feeds on itself. There's no end. It's just a spiral. And there's got to be ways around that. There's got to be ways of breaking that pattern so you can live in joy, so you can be happy. Isn't that the point of life? Isn't that why we're here, to live in joy and be happy? Why are most of us walking around depressed, on drugs, drinking, trying to escape, pharmaceutical drugs for depression, especially depression being such a epidemic globally, especially in Western cultures? I mean, something's profoundly wrong. And we need to start taking some responsibility for that. And I think the answer is educating yourself. One, how did you become like that? Really start self-analyzing and becoming really self-aware. Because once you gain that kind of personal power, then you start really making changes. But all that's in your hands. That's all yours. That's not anybody else's, and it's not anybody else's fault where you are either. That's an FYI for you. I know that's going to be a hard one for people to get their heads around, but that's what I'm here for. It's sort of a lot of us are here for, to help people break their programming and be able to start tapping into some joy in this life. You're here to live, not to be walking around half dead. I can assure you that. If we've been created not for slavery, not for someone else's purpose. Although they want us to believe that, that's not the truth. But that's up to you to look for and look deep for. And I can tell you, I walk the talk. And if you know me and you know me personally, you know I do walk the talk. And if you need to bluff it for a little while and fake it until you make it, then do it. But start studying. And one thing I've noticed, the more when I start becoming awake, quote unquote awake, you start becoming more intelligent. When you start tapping into your soul purpose, you do become a lot more intelligent. Emotional intelligence increases, and your stock standard intellect will increase also. You'll have a greater understanding of a lot of things. And when knowledge is power, and once you start gaining knowledge, again, these are the sort of mysteries of life that are really frowned upon by religions, which really makes me think, well, why is it when we start getting somewhere, we start learning stuff about ourselves, our true nature, why is that dangerous? Why is that such a threat to religions? Why is that such a threat to Christians? Especially. well, all of the religions, really, apart from Buddhism, which really encourage sort of self-actualization. But the other religions really don't want you to touch it, and you got to wonder why there's such a sense of control over, well, I want to learn. So, some sectors of religion will consider that from the other side, from the dark side, wanting to learn about true nature of reality. So you really got to decide what, and just, I've just choose to take what I need and use it and implement it in my life. And guess what? Some people have started religions by having that attitude. There are over 500 denominations of Christianity alone. That means people that have started denominations have had a different worldview than the other Christian down the road. So what's everyone fighting about? What's everyone arguing about? You are wasting time when you could be tapping into something bigger about yourself, and being maybe a bit humble about it. Don't know. But the divine feminine, let's look at a little bit more into it, okay? And I think definitely the divine masculine is very cool too. It's very complementary to the divine feminine. Let me tell you. All right. So, reclaiming her sacred wisdom. Now, if the knowledge of the sacred feminine has been lost, how can we know what to do? Very, very good question. Part of the wisdom of the feminine is to wait, to listen, and to be receptive. How important is this? A woman does not consciously know how to bring the light of a soul into her womb and help it to form a body. And yet, this mystery takes place within her, nor does she consciously know how to nourish this light with her own light. In the same way that she gives her blood to help the body grow, meaning the baby, she is the mystery of the light, being born into matter, and her pregnancy in the time of receptivity, waiting, listening, and feeling what is happening to her. She and the Great Mother are one being, and if she listens within, she is given the knowledge she needs. We may have forsaken the simple feminine wisdom of listening, and in the information age, awash with so many words, it is easy to undervalue an instinctual knowledge that comes from within. But the sacred principles of life have never been written down. They belong to the heartbeat, to the rhythm of the breath and the flow of blood. They are alive like the rain and the rivers, the waxing and waning of the moon. If we learn to listen, we discover that life, the Great Mother, is speaking to us, telling us what we need to know. We are present at the time when the world is dying and waiting to be reborn. That's where we are now. That's where we're living now. It's waiting to die and be reborn. So all this talk about the end, it's not the end. It is the end of sorts, but the end always signifies a new beginning. But the sacred feminine can share with us her secrets, tell us how to be, how to midwife her birth. And because we are her children, she can speak to each of us if we have the humility to listen. How can we listen to what we do not know? And because this birth, the feminine has to be present, not just as the idea of living present within us, within both men and women and men, because although women most fully embodies the divine feminine, part of her secret is also shared with men, just as the son carries part of his mother in a way hidden from her daughters. Yet to live the feminine is something we've almost forgotten. Our patriarchal culture has denied her the power and real wisdom, has sanitized her as much as it has divorced her from her magic that belongs to the rhythms of creation. But we need her more than we dare to realize. Now, sadly what's happened, and I think there are many conspiracies, quite frankly, but what's happened is these women that are put up, that they seem to be just all encompassing and just opulent everywhere. These celebrities and these, I use the word artists very, very, very loosely. but these women at the top of their game in music, and they're thrown at the public like, this is the epitome of femininity. This is what it is to be, this is the epitome of being a woman. That is the biggest lie and deceit. It's so deceitful. One, it's so unreachable and so, what's the word? Not out of this world. It's unreachable and ridiculous. And it's a trick. And it's a trap. That is not any representation of femininity. It appears to be. But if you look at it with discernment, you look a little closer, you start understanding, piecing things together, you'll realize that these women have got nothing to do with divine feminine. They play around with it. And a great way to deceive is mixing lies with the truth, and that's exactly what's been done. So I just want to make that really clear in case you look up to these women and you think that's what you should be emulating or looking up to. You're being tricked. You're being deceived. All right, so I'll continue here. However, to fully encounter the divine feminine, the creative principle of life, we must be prepared for her anger, for the pain that has come from her abuse. So that would be reminiscent of the earth and what the earth is going through now. For centuries, our masculine culture has repressed her natural power. And not only the masculine men, women do it to one another. Women repress that natural power in other women. You see, it's not just men, it's women doing it also, which is a lot more frightening, really. They've burnt her temples, killed her priestesses. Through his drive for mastery and his fear of the feminine, of what he cannot understand or control, the patriarchy has not just neglected her, but deliberately tortured and destroyed. He has not just raped her, but torn the fabric of life, the primal wholeness of which she always was guardian. And the feminine is angry, even if her anger has been repressed along with her magic. To welcome the feminine is to acknowledge and accept her pain and anger. The part we have played in this desecration. Women too have often colluded with the masculine, denied their own power and natural magic, instead accepted masculine values and ways of thinking, which is exactly what's going on in the world right now with a lot of women, with many women. They just got a little bit of the yin and lots of the yang. And that imbalance it's not good. It's not good for us in 3D. We're still in 3D at the moment. We want to move to 4D, to 5D. And we can't do that if we're still in the old paradigm, the really old ways. Some of us are moving in another direction. Some of us are going to stay in the old ways. And the twain shall never meet. I really do believe the Earth's going to split in two. And both of us aren't going to know the other exists. So, where were we going? It is especially easy for women to become identified with the suffering of the feminine, her treatment by the masculine, to project one's own pain and anger onto men. Then we are caught even more securely in the web that denies us any transformation. So that's kind of saying then there's this other wave of women who really believe that men are at fault for everything. There's this other form of ignorance with a kind of a cult of, not a cult, but it's a belief system of certain kinds of women, and I've known of them too. I had to hang out with them, so I knew it's not what I wanted to be. But who really do hate men. There are definitely women like that. And you know what? There are definitely men like that too that hate women. And there are men who hate men. It's interesting. We live in a really complicated world. There's all kinds. You can think of it, it exists. We identify with the pain of the feminine. We easily become the agent of her anger rather than going deeper into the mystery of suffering, into the light that was always hidden in the darkness. Because in the depths of the feminine there is deep knowledge that the abuse is also part of the cycle of creation. The Great Mother embodies a wholeness that contains even the denial of herself, and we need her wholeness if we are to survive and be reborn. Real transformation, like any birth, needs the darkness as much as it needs the light. And this is talking about the duality. Now, again, because I'm still in 3D, I'm stuck in duality. Anyone that talks to you about the next level and they're there, I'm not there. So I can't talk to you from fifth dimension because I'm not there. I'm talking because I'm in third, fourth dimension, which is very much steeped in duality. And if you know something about duality, you know when it's off balance, you got something crazy. So, where was I with I did mention the word duality, and I had to digress. I had to justify that, just the word duality alone. When I said, I didn't use the word duality in what I was saying earlier. I said the needs of darkness and the light. We know that the feminine has been abused just as the planet continues to be polluted. But the woman who has experienced the pain of childbirth, who knows the blood that belongs to birth, is always initiated in the darkness. She knows the cycles of creation in ways that are hidden to the masculine. She needs to give herself and her knowing to the present cycle of death and rebirth, and in so doing honour the pain she has suffered, which I do. Then she would discover that her magic and power is also being reborn in a new way. It is being returned to her in ways that can no longer be contaminated by the masculine and its power drive. Now, when I say masculine, I'm not just talking about men, okay? This masculine power drive also comes from other women. Let me make this very clear. Because I also know males that are very driven by the divine masculine and who are amazing human beings. So I've got to make this very, very clear that this kind of hidden masculine is being socially engineered towards women. They feel like it's the only way to behave to survive. It's a trick, okay? It's a trap. Let's see, we need to go consciously into the next era, recognizing our mistakes. Only then can we fully honor and hear her, but there is also always a possibility that we'll not take this step. That, like defiant children, will not acknowledge the pain that we have done to our mother, and will not reclaim the wholeness that she embodies. Then we'll remain within the darkness that is beginning to devour our souls, the empty promises of materialism, the fractured world of fanaticism. This is what I was saying before, the wastelands. I say that a lot on my shows before. We're in the wastelands of what we've created, which is nothing. We've created nothing. To take a step into maturity is also always to acknowledge our mistakes, the wrongs we have done. Now, this is such a huge topic. I mean, every time I choose a topic, you can talk about it for an hour, you can talk about it for forever. This is very much a topic that can just continue. I think what I've just shared it touches me. I understand the truth, but I can't rely on anyone else to do it for me. I can do it. Be that change you want to see. So rather than me be distressed that none of this is evident anywhere, that we don't see this growth, this maturity, this camaraderie with one another. Instead of being sad about it, become it. Do it yourself. Start it somehow. Believe me, like I was saying before, you believe in something, you feel it wholeheartedly in your heart, you got no support, nothing. But you stay true to you, and you do and feel and believe and be marching to the beat of your own heart, like I mentioned a few times tonight. Synchronicities will happen. So that's what I do. I've chosen to be that change. A lot of people in the alternative media will be screaming out like, why is it like this and why aren't we like this, which is all fair enough. It's totally fair. But where I'm coming from is be that change that you wish existed. It's another level. There's people higher level than me that probably are listening to me and going, no, she still doesn't understand. But that's okay. I look at people that I think don't understand where I'm at. It's all relative, you see. Everything's relative. It's incredible. So, be that change. Be that divine feminine. Be that influence on other people. Be that light. Be that beacon. And be true to yourself. What else can I say? We're almost at the end of the show. This has been a very nice journey. I haven't done a show by myself like this for a long time. I usually have guest speakers with me, but when you're talking alone, it's such a different obviously a solo dynamic, isn't it? And I can really go in any direction. But I'm really looking forward to doing my first show with Joaquim, and it's going to be playing soon on Wolf Spirit Radio. Now, I've covered a few things tonight, not the whole gamut of it, of course, but hopefully just a few little things that just get you thinking, and enough for you to just start looking maybe more inward than outward. You need both, but you need more of the introspection than the outer. The outer is just the material anyway, isn't it? Even all the news and all the rubbish that's going on in the world is still just part of the material. You're the abstract. You're the art. You're the creation. So that's my show for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. I will be here twice a week, and I look forward to getting to know my listeners. And again, if you want to contact me, I'm Helena Phoenix. I'm Helena Phoenix at Time to Shine Radio. That's all letters, no numbers, just Time to Shine Radio. And another big thank you to JP and Wolf Spirit Radio. And I'm looking forward to, I'm the new kid in town at the moment, so looking forward to getting to know everybody and getting to know the listener base that we have here, to getting to know who you are. I was very familiar at Revolution Radio with everything, and this is all new to me now. So, new beginnings. When things end, and I'm at the point now too, when things end for me, it doesn't distress me. I'm so convinced and so certain. It just means that there's another beginning. There's a bigger door, a bigger window. And if you understood that, that would really help. You know, if you lose a job or a relationship or something happens and it ends, you don't have to be distressed over it for more than half an hour. Did you know, actually, just before I go, I saw a report somewhere. I'm going to have to try to pull this out from somewhere next time. But if you have an emotional trigger to something, whether you've been hurt, that emotional trigger should not last biologically any more than 10 to 20 minutes. Anything past 20 minutes then becomes your imagination, your own fear, your own insecurities, your own projections, and so on and so forth. So any emotional trigger you have, any emotional response should only literally last 10 to 20 minutes. Everything else, you're doing yourself. So look that up if you don't believe me. All right, you've been listening to Helena Phoenix on the Helena Phoenix Show. I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and take care. Take care of yourself. If you see someone needs a hand, just give them a hand. See you next week.